Welcome to The Next Stage, the podcast where we turn up the house lights on the future of venue management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, this is your go-to source for the latest trends, innovations, and best practices in the venue and event management industry.
The amount of information and the amount of change and the amount of opportunity has never been greater.
We've literally broken down walls and we're looking at how can we create a more seamless experience.
There's customer demand for sustainability now.
On the forefront when it comes to venues that might not look like what you think of as a venue today.
Welcome back to The Next Stage, the VMA podcast where we explore the art, science and innovation shaping the venue management industry. Today, we're thrilled to bring you an engaging conversation hosted by Steve Mackenzie, Chief Innovation Officer at Momentous Technologies, with Russ Simons, Chief Listening Officer at Venue Solutions Group. Russ is a long-time industry leader with over 40 years of experience in public assembly facility management. Known for his relentless pursuit of excellence and dedication to advancing the field, Russ has a unique perspective on what makes venues not just functional, but truly exceptional. In this episode, Russ shares invaluable insights from his career journey, from managing facilities day to day to co-founding Venue Solutions Group, a consultancy focused on operations, risk management, and guest experience. Hosted by Steve Mackenzie, this conversation dives into Russ's innovative approaches to benchmarking guest experiences, mitigating risks, and fostering leadership within organisations. Russ also speaks candidly about the challenges venues face in staying relevant in an ever-evolving landscape. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the industry, this combination of Steve's engaging questions and Russ's wisdom and practical advice is sure to leave you inspired and ready to take your venue to the next level. So grab your headphones, settle in, and join us for this compelling episode of The Next Stage.
Well, welcome back everybody to the latest in our innovative series of videos, and I'm extremely honoured and privileged today to have with me Russ Simons, who is the Chief Listening Officer at Venue Solutions Group. Russ and I have known each other for a long time, and I feel very honoured to be able to call Russ a colleague and a friend in the industry. And I mean, what Russ has forgotten about the industry is more than most of us will ever know. So I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it's true in Russ's case. So Russ, can I ask you to give the audience a bit of an intro and the background on yourself, because you've had a very long and storied career in this industry, and then tell us a bit about VSG and what you guys do now.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. It's a mutual admiration society because I really respect you and what you've accomplished over time. But VSG, and like when you have a career as long as mine, about 40 years right now in public assembly facility business, VSG is the amalgamation of a lot of that experience. I was a day-to-day building manager for a long time. I was with Populous as a senior principal for 10 years, and then we spun off at VSG. And interestingly enough, with my two business partners, Mike Woolley and Tom Williams, when we did that, it really wasn't my idea. I wasn't leading the charge there. They came to me and said, we think that there's a real opportunity and maybe we should go forward. And they were so enthusiastic about it that I just kind of went along, But for VSG, our commitment is to the industry overall, which means that anybody listening here, we'll answer any phone call, anytime. We'll give any information. We're not attorneys, and I'm not mad at attorneys, by the way, but we don't charge in 6-minute increments. I mean, we decided some things that we were going to be culturally. We decided that we were going to help people in the industry, and we decided that we were going to make a commitment to constant learning. So while I genuinely appreciate the experiences of my career, I am almost desperate every day to be on the front edge of what's happening and how is it going to affect us and in what way. So VSG overall, we call ourselves, we're operational advisors. We really focus on how things work. We have several business lines. Guest experience benchmarking is a business line. Facility condition assessments is one of our larger business lines. Operational consulting. What actually happens in my practice is someone will, like yourself, will be talking to somebody else and they'll say, hey, I've got this problem and I don't know what to do. And someone will say, hey, have you called Russ? and I get those calls. So 96% of our business is word of mouth. It's not like we don't apply, respond to an RFP from time to time and that, but that's just not how it works. It really works shoe leather on the ground, person to person. And if someone calls one of us and we have expertise or we think that we can contribute, we'll explain how that might work. And if not, we would explain, hey, here's who I would go to if I had this kind of problem and where the expertise lies. Our business has gotten so segmented and is changing so rapidly in each of those segments that you can't be sort of a master of everything. So what I try to do is be a master of knowing who to call, right? Where can I get information? The last sort of part of that is that I happen to be and have always been a voracious reader. So I look at somewhere between 30 and 50 publications a day. And then I said to myself, well, if I have this information, I should probably try to help the industry. So as you're aware of, I have about 14 different industry distribution lists. Anybody is welcome to be on them. Just send me your contact information. And it's things like security, which, as you would expect in today's environment, is on a weekly basis. But it's things that you might expect or not expect. Employee of the future, and lots of different takes. Operations, engineering, all of those kinds of things. At the end of the day, our commitment is to the industry. Our commitment is to the people in the industry. Because while all the buildings, I'm sitting here today at NRG Park in Houston, Texas. Fantastic building, fantastic edifice. But to me, it's bricks and mortar, and it doesn't actually have a soul until people walk in it.
Yeah, look, I 100% agree with you, and thanks for explaining that. There's so many things we could sort of dive down different areas there. But one I'd like you touched on something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the topic of benchmarking. You said one of your business lines is guest experience benchmarking. How do you help venues with that?
Sure. Our philosophy about that, I think, is different than most. There are lots of practices that look at benchmarking as a vehicle to create data, and therefore they would go in and really say, well, how did you like this hot dog on a between 1 and 5, and then try to extrapolate that data. Because Mike, Tom, and I are all former operators, everything we do at VSG we step back and say, is this actually going to provide actionable information and data to the user? So as you would expect, guest experience benchmarking, secret shopping, whatever vernacular you want to use, we go in dressed as consumers. We have tickets, or we did before everything was electronic. We start by really looking at the website, looking at all of the things that they tell us about goals and objectives and commitment to customers and all of those things, trying to as a person who just decides, you know what, I want to go somewhere and I want to see, I don't know, Taylor Swift, or I want to see Zach Brown, or whatever is or the Summer League in Las Vegas. And it's just like, how do people get their information? And now, is that information accurate? Does it actually direct me to do the things that can be helpful? And so that would include a website analysis in terms of how easy it is to navigate, and is the real information that one would need while they're in your care actually evident. So approach, arrival, entry, clearly the screening process, just looking at how it's organized, and are there opportunities for efficiency, and are there people, sort of standing around and not actively engaged in the process of welcoming the guests. You know this in your daily life. If you feel like you go somewhere, let's say you went to Home Depot or something like that, and people are not engaged and and distracted, then you're thinking to yourself, do they really value me being here? And I would tell you from my own perspective, I value people's time more than I value them spending money. Now, I know as a business, we need money to go forward. But at the end of the day, if someone's going to give their discretionary time to come to an event, then to me, that's immensely valuable. People can spend money doing anything that they want, but time is of short supply for all of us, and it's precious. And so my lens is time. And that time means what's happening at the gates as I'm approaching and arriving, what's happening as I'm navigating my way to get to my seat or to my club or wherever I'm going. Am I spending 14 minutes in a sort of an old-fashioned belly-up stand to get to refreshment or concessions? I read a study a while back that said if there are 9.2 people in line, the 10th person won't get in line. And if you look at 9.2 people in line, and let's say the transaction time, we like to see a transaction time of 60 to 75 seconds, but in many cases, they're significantly longer. So let's say the transaction time is just that 75 seconds. Well, think about how long that person, that 10th person is in line, is in the line before they can actually get what they want or what they need. And how does that impact the rest of their experience? Nobody goes to an event to stand in line. They go to the event to actually sit down and be a part and experience in the way that they choose. That might be in social gathering. That might be just navigating the concourse at a baseball game, what we call the third inning stroll. But the individual gets to choose that. We shouldn't be impeding them making choices to experience what they want and when they want it. So as I said, we look at guest experience benchmarking amongst all of those things. We're trying to use the science and the data that we have from the industry, and we're trying to apply it experientially. And then we spend 50% of our time trying to catch people doing the right thing, and not just trying to prove our value by nitpicking. Candidly, Steve, as you, I think, will well know, you give me enough time in a building and I can catch somebody doing something that you would prefer that they weren't doing at any moment in time. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm really looking for things that indicate that there's a system failure, that there's a training failure, that there's a supervision failure, which I would share with you and this audience is the single biggest impediment for us to having the best experience we can, because I just think we underserve our supervisors and therefore we're underserving our line staff.
Thanks for that really, really great explanation. I'm glad there's people like you and your business partners that are looking out for the person and people coming to events, because I guarantee most of the audience doesn't even know that that's taking place, that someone really cares about that, and I can tell you as a consumer of events and other things, I am one that I'll stand in the line and I'll calculate, well, every person's going to take about 60 seconds to get through, whether it's at immigration when you're coming through the airport or at a line at a concession stand. And I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here for 35 minutes based on that calculation. So
I can't get that time in my life back, right?
Exactly right. Right. So no, thanks for sharing that. I know another one of the things that VSG does is you deal a lot when you're working with the venues and talk about managing and mitigating risk, and that's a whole topic on its own, I know. But what's your opinion on where venues in the US are currently at when it comes to that topic of managing and mitigating risk?
Steve, I'm just not sure you or maybe anybody in the audience is going to appreciate my answer. In my practice, I spend the greatest amount of time personally in security, safety, and risk. And I just have to tell you that I think here in the United States, we play at risk. We do not take risks seriously. We have an attitude, and I don't know where it came from because I don't think it's earned, that it's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen to me. It's somebody else's problem. We spend more energy avoiding managing risk than we do actually managing risk. And it's almost like, I guess it's akin to how we feel about any kind of change. I mean, it is human nature to resist change. Like, why do I have to do something different? And in this case, because I think it isn't actually emphasized early in people's careers, that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that, well, it wasn't important when I came into the business and nobody ever held my feet to the fire. So why is it suddenly important now? And it's not suddenly important now. It's always been important. It's more important today because of the the factors that affect our success as a business from a risk standpoint, not just security risk, but business risk in a wide variety of ways. And I just find myself frustrated by the fact that we play at it, meaning we give it lip service. It's the kind of lip service we gave security before 9/11. Do you do security? Yeah, sure. And before 9/11, everything was focused from our doors in. And after 9/11, all of a sudden we had to turn around and say, wait a second, we need to be at our doors and looking out. And we're still not great at that, by the way, when you think about what happened in Manchester and the fact that we haven't learned the lesson to be looking at what's going on outside our building while people are in our care. And I am digressing a little bit, but it is a form of risk. It is frustrating to me that we don't emphasize it and that we're not good at it. And I'm thinking, where does the hammer come from? I wish the insurance companies were stronger with us as their clients, making us prove that we are dealing with, confronting, and planning for the management of risk. And for whatever reason, I don't see that evidence. So if you look at the complexities of the world today, and if somebody was saying, well, I don't believe international terrorism is coming to Des Moines, Iowa, I get that, but that doesn't address what's happening domestically.
Right.
When people talk about vehicle intrusion, it's like, well, I don't see where someone's going to be purposely driving a car in to harm our guests. Well, then forget the purposeful stuff. Think about the knuckleheads that are driving into people. It happened in New York City just this week, where 9 people were either killed or injured, and in a park near the U.S. Tennis Center. It's just like more of that happens as a part of daily life than intentional, terrorism, that kind of thing. So if you manage risk in the appropriate way, you're covering both instances. So I am admittedly disappointed that I don't believe we take risks seriously, and those consequences land at our feet.
Yeah, look, I sometimes it's tough to hear the cold hard truth, but I would have to agree with you, just given my experience as well. And a leading question from that is do you think, because right now I think a lot of the venues are, well, even in the past and to a certain degree today, it's a bit of a checkbox. Just, we marked, we did a risk assessment, whatever. They check a box to say they've done it. Do you think technology can help in this area as we go forward?
Yeah, and before I answer the technology question, are we better at it today than we were? So the answer to that's certainly yes, right?
Yeah.
And technology and resources and training are some of the reasons why we are better at it. But when you look at, like, if I look at the majority of security directors in our industry, and I'm talking about from complexes to PACs, historic theaters, all the way up to the NBA, that type of thing, the vast majority have a title that says safety and security. But we play at safety too, meaning I really don't see people in public assembly facility being as concerned about safety as you would see in manufacturing, as you would see in a wide variety of associated businesses. So the idea that technology incorporating into some of the systems that we already have and providing sort of easy checklists, and that has got to be married with training. And leadership it's got to start with leadership saying, we're going to emphasize this, that the vulnerabilities that we face, it's not just okay to hope that nothing happens, that we really need to be purposeful and deliberate in terms of our preparation to manage it when it happens, our preparation to make sure that we have the ability to recover in a smooth and efficient way in order to have the enterprise move forward and to meet our responsibilities and our expectations. So I'm a big fan of technology, but at the end of the day, if leadership isn't emphasizing risk and recovery and business continuity, then it's really hard for line staff and middle managers and everybody to get inspired by incorporating risk in their thinking.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, technology is definitely helpful, but it's got to be very well thought out and have the push from the impetus from leadership to make it happen. So yeah, great. Changing tack a little bit, in your travels, you see ton of venues. What do you think separates the great venues from the good venues?
So the first of all, you could expect the answer is people, right?
Yep,
Uh,
yep, yep.
but design actually plays a significant factor, and that doesn't mean that everything has to be the newest and greatest. Because I'm involved in a lot of projects where we are adapting, whatever the initial design criteria was to meet the needs that we have today. I think it's a combination of things. Andre Agassi, the tennis star, once said that attitude is everything, and simplistic for commercial purposes, but absolutely, to me, it's leadership who is not trying to do things to make themselves feel better or seem smarter, but really trying to make sure that every person that they're responsible for, who is in their care, both from an internal standpoint with staff and an external standpoint with guests and business partners and all of that, are just actively engaged with how do we have an environment of constant improvement? How do we provide professional development and support? And I am frustrated sometimes because I will have people say, well, we don't have the budget for that. And I'm saying, hey, time out. All right. I simply and I unequivocally reject this budget means that I can't do anything. Because there is always something you can do. You can partner up with other facilities in your region. You can create a network. I don't know of an industry that I have access to that shares information better than ours. I mentioned that, hey, anybody can call me at any time and I will return that call. I will get them the information. I will do that. I'm not special in that. If I look at something and there's somebody I don't know, which I would regret, but if there's somebody I don't know in this business and I reached out to them, I'm confident they'll take that call. I'm confident they'll give me a few minutes and share information with me. And even when I ran facilities and needed information from people who were in the same marketplace, where you could argue that we were competing for discretional income or that type of thing, we share information. And Richard Anderson, who is affiliated with VSG, his saying is, all of us are better than any one of us. And that saying inspires me all the time, because left to my own devices, I would then start to be convinced that I was something special, and I'm not. I'm a contributor to the greater sort of knowledge base, and I have a responsibility to make sure that I share that information with everybody. And I think most people in our industry, and I know you're among them, feel the same way.
Yeah, I love that, and you're 100% right. This industry is very unique in that sense that even though the big builders competing with each other in a sense, they're still very happy to share information and help each other out. And I haven't seen that anywhere else. So it's a as you say, there's some of these things we can do that don't cost a lot of money, but just pick up the phone, go and have a chat. So yeah, that's great. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. And look, just as a final question, Russ, what do you see as the biggest changes that venues are going to need to make to stay relevant going forward in the future? Because the venue landscape, as we know, it's ever changing, right?
So my answer to this is going to be a little bit different, and it's one of my current soapboxes. And as you're well aware, I always have one or two of these working. Right. I think that the amount of information and the amount of change and the amount of opportunity has never been greater, regardless of the type of facility or the size or what's going on. And a while back, I sat down and I just sort of thought through how is it that a facility can sort of embrace and manage, and just sort of how do you handle that flow of information and data? And so my response to this, as I said, is a little bit off center, but I have come to the conclusion that we do a terrible job overall of actually engaging the resources that we have. I don't care if you have 9 people on your staff. I don't care if you have 27 or 65. And here's what I'm talking about is I remember, as somebody who was coming up through the business as an emerging manager, a middle manager, a senior manager, and all of that, I was desperate to have more responsibility. I was desperate to, if somebody said, hey, we need somebody to do X, I was like, I'll go do it, right? And there were many times when I had no idea what it was about. And I started thinking about that in the context of today. And when I think about organizations, I mean, you have the top leader, and then you have lots of people underneath who are supporting all of the different departments. And we tend to consolidate information at these nexus points, senior manager, director, vice president, that type of thing. And we are not engaging the staff underneath them in any way, shape, or form that I think we need to. I give this talk a little bit on the safety and security side, and so I'll use it as a reference. So you may have heard of crime prevention through environmental design. Now, you'd have to be sort of semi-deep into security and safety to understand that concept. But the idea, for my explanation, is this. I don't have the time to go and add, expertise in what's called SEPTED on a daily basis. So how about I realize that I have shift leads, overnight shift leads, during the day shift leads. I have supervisors. I have like lower level managers and middle managers and that type of thing. And how about I start to say, wait a second, you know what? I don't have time for this, but I also can't afford to ignore it and not be educated into it. So I go tap a middle manager and say, hey, Steve, I want you to become an expert in SEPTED. And Steve looks at me like, okay, could you tell me what that is? And I would probably say no, go figure it out. But let's say I'm being nice today, So yeah, this is what it is. And here's a website, and just go get started. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go learn about it. And you're going to be asked to come back on a regular basis, maybe quarterly, and report back to our group about what this is. And start to educate all of us as to what this is. And now you're the expert, and you're going to be going out and you're going to be finding out whether there are people with that expertise in our police department, in our fire department, in any of those kinds of things. And we're going to bring that back. You're going to present that to us. And so now all of a sudden, I'm not only preparing you for the future in terms of expertise and a process to go learn, but you're going to come back and make presentations to us. You're going to start to prepare yourself for succession and to actually be a valuable member of not only our organization, but prepare yourself to be valuable to another organization as we move forward. If you move up with us, great. You're acquiring these skill sets. You're having to go out and introduce yourself and find information from a new group. Or if you're going to another organization, you're going to be bringing that expertise as you go forward. And all I'm saying, just to not be too lengthy of this, is I think we do a terrible job of utilizing the resources we have. And that creates a significant limitation in terms of your original question of how are we going to be able to prepare ourselves to meet the challenges of the future.
Yeah, that's a really, really, as I would expect, an out of the box take from you on that, Russ. And I think you're right. There's so much of that where senior leadership think they've got to come up with all the ideas and this is the way forward, when they've got this untapped resource there that people who are seeing on the ground, seeing things every day. So I love that idea. So look, thanks so much for sharing some of your insights with us. It's, as always, I feel inspired talking to you. I learned so much, and I can't wait to catch up with you again. And I'm sure, like me, that the audience really appreciated this. So, Russ Simons, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Russ, for your time this week. Russ's wisdom and experience are a testament to the incredible talent and passion driving our industry forward. As we wrap up, we're excited to share that the next and final episode in the Momentous Technologies Innovators series will drop in the new year. Stay tuned for one more powerful conversation to cap off this incredible series. Looking ahead to 25, I'll be stepping into the hosting seat to bring you a fresh lineup of voices and industry innovators. We'll explore new perspectives, groundbreaking ideas, and the ever-evolving challenges shaping the future of venue management. It's going to be an exciting journey. I can't wait to share it with you. Also, don't forget to mark your calendars for the 2025 VMA Congress, taking place at ICC Sydney from June 22nd to 24th, 2025. The program will be launched in Feb 25, and it promises to be an unmissable event packed with insights, networking, and opportunities to help shape the future of our industry. Until then, take care and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in our industry. Thanks for listening to The Next Stage. See you again soon.